escaped relegation. Then after that, we were in Europe for about 4 seasons in a row, 4 or 5 seasons. We were in the UEFA Cup, played against Kaiserslautern, teams like that, you know, and they were, to be in Europe for Kilmarnock so consistently, saying just things, maybe it was the timing, everything just fell into place, and the support, the team we had with a great side, you know, with a right good, after they get relegated that year with the side they had. But there was Bobby made it master stroke when he played 2 young guys, maybe 3 young boy, Alec Burke and David Bagan, who came through together. Chris Boyd and that was behind them. And another guy, Mark Roberts, and around about that time. And they introduced him into the first team, and another wee guy, Gary McCutcheon. And I was saying, why is he playing young boys, you know? But I tell you what a lift these boys guys, and they too were magnificent. You know, they gave the full place a lift. They lifted the full mood of the camp. It was fresh legs coming, they had no fear. Burke was buzzing, you know, in the wing. He was being taken, you know, playing against the best and showing how good a player he was, you know. You think getting in there a wee bit overawed, was he ready for this? But Bobby took a gamble and he was exceptional. And David Bagan's another one. Bagan played in the middle part of, scored goals. The two of them, I think because the two of them came in at the same time and they were best of buddies, they helped one another, and it helped us with guys like Matt Riley, great pros, Kevin McGowan, Paul Wright up front was tremendous, you know. It was just Jim McIntyre. We had a right good side, and you're saying, how is this team struggling at the bottom? But then things just started to click, and Bobby started to get a few more players in, and from there on, it was in my coaching career so far, it's been the best time ever at Kilmarnock, you know. You don't realise what it means today. I mean, I had never been involved. Bobby played with Kilmarnock. Jimmy Clark played with Kilmarnock. I didn't play with Kilmarnock. But just you realise what a club it was, you know. And
you build an affiliation with it.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it was, you still look at back and say, what 97 onwards was just tremendous.
Absolutely. When you're looking at like that 97 sort of squad as well, you've got guys like Jim McIntyre, Gary Holt, as you said.
Yeah, Gary Holt, yeah.
Gus McPherson.
Yeah.
All these guys who have went on to become managers in their own right. When you're coaching them, can you see them possessing coaching qualities even as they're playing days?
I think maybe Gus.
Right.
Yeah, Gus was always quite, you know, involved in the, you know, and he always had his say, and, you know, in the dressing room and things like that. I thought Gus, Macca was very opinionated, you know. I liked about him, you know, had his say in that. He wasn't shy, you know, he would come out and say what he felt. But I think Macca's done great when he, you know, I didn't realise how much he wanted to be in the coaching side there. Yeah. But I think there comes to, when you're still concentrating and playing, and Macca went away down to Reading for a spell. Reading signed him. And I think when there's a time he comes and says, sometimes you're thrown in at the deep end. And I think that's what happened with Jimmy Mack at Dunfermline. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went and joined Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Because he was a player, and it was difficult for him. He was 1 minute sitting in the dressing room, ready to go and play football, then he's telling these players what to do and pick the team and falling out of favour with some guys and that. But Gus was probably the one. Holty, always said Holty was the worst trainer ever. Last in, first out. Right.
You had Chris Boyd.
Yeah.
You even had Chris Boyd.
Well, Boyd, he wasn't far behind, but at the time. But I'll tell you what, see when it came in match days with Holty, my goodness, what a machine. Up and down, and the wee head used to go, and you say, he was brilliant, you know, he was great. And he wasn't one of these guys that was into weights in the gym or anything like that. He just stays wee bit right in my way. But when it came to the match day, by his energy and his fitness was tremendous. And did I think Holty would have won any? No, I didn't really. But then again, at the time, maybe I'm seeing them as players, and as I say, I knew Gus would probably like to get it someday, because he did get involved in at the ground.
Captain
maybe
as well, so
leadership's
there.
Leadership. Mark Riley, I would have thought maybe Mark was a wee bit reserved, and when I say quiet, but what a player he was for Kilmarnock. Another one with a lot of guys who would point the finger at one another, best of pals, but they weren't frightened to, get you, and that's what, I think's missing the game now. I think players are too bally now, and I travel with him, I can't argue, I can't follow with him, whereas the guys were all at each other, because they all wanted to win. Mm-hmm. Kevin McGowan was another guy, you know, who liked to have his saying, you know, with Bart instructions. Jimmy Laughlin, you know, with Dylan Kerr was another one. You know, Dylan's doing well. He's over in South Africa somewhere. And they're all, you know, guys at the time, very opinionated, and maybe because they get brought up in that dressing room, everybody was at it. Maybe that's what standing them in good stead, you know, they get into the management because they feel confident to get in there. But what they will be frustrated with now is players are different now from what we had, you know, when we were in, everybody was in each other's faces and having a go at one another. But the best of pals after, they'll go for a beer at the weekend. I don't think you get that the same with players now. They have a go at one another. I think they just never said, let the manager say it. Whereas everybody you had in the dressing room pointed the finger at one another, but they all took it. You know, they'll back their corner, they'll fight their corner, they'll argue their case, but you just took it. And if you first thing you had with them, you had honesty with them, they would put their hand up. Sorry, my fault. You know, and whereas I think players would just say nothing to do with me. You know, they all point out it was his fault, you know.
Absolutely.
But as I say, that was a great. That's what made our job easier. The boys done it on the park, where I think Jimmy Mack would find it as well now. Gus and that, they're playing the game for a lot of the players now. They're shouting on, do this and do that. Whereas Telham, instead of them just telling them, saves likes of the boys shouting on, because the boys just blank me anyway. They just, unless you won't get a bit of abuse for the manager or the coach or something. Whereas the boys sorted it on the park, you know, they used to have a go at one another and, you know, encourage one another, have a go if they needed it. But I don't see a lot of that now, Amy, definitely don't.
You spoke about when you were a player how good a man manager Craig Brown was.
Yeah.
And not too long ago I was speaking to Andy McLaren, and he refers to his Kilmarnock time as completely and utterly rejuvenating his career in so many more ways than one, his life as well. So when you see guys like Andy who come back from you know real low places and everything goes well at Kilmarnock and it ends up getting a Scotland cap again, that's what you do the coaching job for, isn't it? You know, it's not just about the player, it's about the person as well.
Yeah, definitely. When Andy came back to us, right, and Bobby brought him up, I tell you what, for 3-4 months, he was unbelievable, unplayable.
Yep.
Great, he was scoring here, doing everything. Andy, you're saying, what a player this boy is. I always remember him with Dundee United anyway, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I always knew how good a player he was, you know, left foot, right foot. And I knew about his problems, but Bobby wanted to give him a chance. And I says, why not? You know, quality player we can deal with and handle, and he was trying to get his career back on track. And I'm saying it was just great about the place. And then I think we gave him a 2-year contract. Then I used to say, where did you go after you signed that contract? You know, you disappeared for it. But it was just having a bit of banter with him. Yeah. But it seemed to, you know, the player we had for that 4 months, I don't know what happened to Andy for a while after that. But then, you know, you get him in flashes and that, but you say, was he playing just to get a contract? But he wasn't, you know, because he was fired up. He was coming, it wasn't just on the game and the training. He was tremendous. And we're saying, oh, what a player this boy is, you know. And we loved Andy, you know. I still keep in touch with him, you know, and he's done great for himself. He has, yeah. He's got his life sorted, and I'll tell you what, you know, full marks to him. And he is a great lad, and he's very... He's involved. I think he's involved with the Chris Boyd thing, and he does all the charities and does all the walks and things he's got to do. But and I think if you ask Andy, I don't know if you've interviewed him, probably, but Andy would go back and say, you know, at that time, you know, when he went from Dundee United to Reading, and it was, I don't know if he could handle it going to be down there on his own, and I don't know if his missus was down there at the time.
No, he went down by himself, and that was the issue, because it was just coming back for training, being in the hotel room all by himself.
Go and play at the end, go and play, maybe put that's right. He told us that, and he says it was so much time in his hands.
Yep.
And that was it. You know, probably a thing, but you know, you're thinking with that big move, you take that big move, and maybe was he ready for it? Was he right? But are you ready for it? It's just how you deal with it, and obviously it went the other way for Andy. But, you know, to come back and get his career on track, get his life on track, most importantly. You know, and as I say, I've got a lot of time for Andy, and it says when he came, it was real, just to see, he handed the ball, he was going to run riot. And the boys loved him, you know, and loved him. And it was great to see, you know, for somebody that went through, I didn't realise how much he went through. He told us, you know.
Yeah.
But for him, you know, the way where he is now, he's in a good place now.
Yeah, absolutely is, and it is great to see. But another, obviously, a great relationship you have to have is with Bobby Williamson, and you follow him to Hibs, you follow him quite a bit, actually. Plymouth. To Plymouth as well. But going to Hibs, you kind of, well, you do inherit the beginning of that golden generation, and then, you know, Bobby gives a lot. I think he gives like Scott Brown the first real run. Derek Riordan already really had his place in the side, but how good was it working with that plethora of young players? Kevin Thompson, he kind of kick-started him as well.
Well, when we left, Bobby, tell you what, what was he? I mean, we had a break. I think it was an international break, and we were living at Kilmarnock. You know, there was no talk about us going to Hibs. We heard that Hibs were interested, blah blah. But myself, Jimmy Clark, and Bobby, I was going over to Ireland to look at a player, and Bobby says, "Change of plan. We're going through Easter Road." I said, I'm just going through to see the setup. You know, no, I'm not going there. You know, I said, I'm just going through to see the setup. You and Clark come with us, and I'm like, "You through to see the setup?" He said, "Oh, come on, we'll just go through and see what's happening." And I think his agent at the time was Raymond Sparks. So anyway, we through, and Jimmy Clark's a Kelly man through and through.
Right.
So Jimmy's team and Bobby's getting away with talking away the Raymond, and we went into a room and talking away, and I says, "I don't know what's happening here." I says, "Bobby's not who's quitting, is he?" He goes, "No, he's not saying that to me." And I said, "He's not saying that to me." I said, "Surely no." I says, "I'm not quitting." I said, "I'm staying at Kilmarnock. I like Kilmarnock. You know, Kilmarnock's good." You know, I says, and Clarky goes, "Oh, well, I'm definitely staying at Kilmarnock." So we're having this conversation, and Bobby comes out of this room. He says, "That's it, done." I says, "What?" He says, "I have to resign." And we're like, "Seriously?" I says, "Bobby, we're not resigning." He says, "He's on A." He said, "Come with me." And I'm going like, "Bobby, Kilmarnock, I've not done nothing wrong to us, you know." I says, "We can't just do this." And he goes like, "I've done it." I says, and Raymond Sparks came and he wasn't my agent, you know, didn't have an agent, nearly Clarky. And he's got like, "You need to do the right thing and join Bobby." And I goes like, "No, we don't." I goes like, I says, "We should have been discussing this."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, it's the manager they want. The manager wants shoes." And it's just, I'm saying, "Oh, this is wrong." You know how one of the ones you're saying, "This is not right."
Aye.
So Bobby, Clarky says, "Jerry, you do what you want." He says, "I'm not quitting Kilmarnock." And he says, "If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right." And I said, "Well, I'm with you." And I says, I'm not quitting either." So Bobby's like, Bobby cornered me. He says, "Kevin, you've got to come with me." He says, "I can't walk into a cell." He says, "Well, eventually we're out of there now. We can't do anywhere with Kilmarnock." And maybe in one hand he was right. He had a point. We've took Kilmarnock as far as we could go. I says, but there are things that we need to do them the right way.
Yeah.
So I says, "Bobby, you know, we're not better sitting down with Kilmarnock and then just say, right, this is what I want to do, you know." He says, "Look, I've done it now." He says, "There's no way back for us, and I need you in here on Monday. We start on Monday." I'm like, "You're starting Monday, I'm not starting Monday." So Jimmy's looking at me. Jimmy says, "Look, we'll eventually have to leave Kilmarnock because Bobby's left now." I says, "They'll not offer us a job. We're part of Bobby." He says, "But Kelly's my club, Jerry." I said, "Well, definitely you're not going to quit." So after a discussion with Bobby, Bobby says, "It looks silly for him getting himself." I says, "Right, okay." So I just came, I says, I don't know what I was thinking. I just says, "Right, I'm looking at Bobby and I don't know whether to punch him or feel sorry for him, you know." And I says, "Right, I'll let you come out there, won't I?" He says, "Aye." So I went in and done it. You know, one of the ones you're coming out and saying, "What have I done here?" Aye. So Clarky says, "No, I'll need to go back to the club." And I'll ask somebody, the three is kind of walk out. He says, "Somebody needs to take training. And whatever's done," he says, "I'll be at the door in a couple of weeks anyway." So, you know, you're driving back from Edinburgh and you're saying, "What have we done? What have we done?" Bobby goes, "It's done now." Right, he says, "Look, a big club," and I said, "Oh, no, they're a big club." I said, "I was at it."
Exactly.
I get chased out it. I get chased out it. He says, "Well, this is our chance." So anyway, I had to get my head around it. Clarky went back, and the chairman, Bill Cosley, at the time, and Bill, they were great. It was like, probably the best board I've ever worked with, the Kilmarnock board. They were great. They just let you go in there. they weren't happy, right? They were going to sort things out with Hibs and weren't happy with Hibs. Anyway, it had been done. So me and Bobby went into training on Monday. We took the training and we were there for then wee Clarkie, Jimmy just says, well, I'll need to take the training to get a manager. And I think that's when Jim Jeffries came in. And I think they wanted Clarkie to stay, which they should have, because he's a great coach. Clarkie said, no, I'll work with Bobby and Jerry. So he finally, after about a week or two, Jimmy, the three is one of them. And I think we'll
shuffled over.
They keep it Kilmarnock for a while, you know. But it was just something in football, and you see it done all the time, but it didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with Jim. I don't think it sat well with Bobby. But Bobby says, look, we've went as far as we can go. We'll play, we've won the cup, we've had 3 good years, 4 years in Europe. Maybe a new challenge. I wasn't against a new challenge, you know.
The manner in which...
It was exactly. The manner way it happened. Then, first thing we were in there, and we're saying, right, big club and that, but with players and big money.
Yeah.
You're Appiano, Freddie Appiano, and Pacaluna, you know, Lawson, Dela Cruz. And the first thing Petrie says to us, what's that Petrie says? You need to get all these big hitters. He's like that. What do you mean we need to get rid of them? He says, we can't afford to keep these guys. We're like, well, what do we do? He says, if nobody wants them. He said, well, we need to get them out of the door. We need to come to some sort of agreement. He says, we can't keep these guys. Although we sold Dela Cruz for 2 million, I think he went to Villa, and Lawson went to Celtic. But our hands were tied, and I said, well, what have I to bring you? I says, we need players in. They said, well, you just need to look at free transfers and, you know, guys that are Bosmans and blah, blah, blah. So I says, wish we'd have knew that before we came in here. Because Appiano were good players, Pacaluna were good players, John O'Neill, and he wouldn't let us play John because John had some in his contract. He played so many games, he gets so much, and says, but it was unknown to us. So anyway, we started to fill it a few to do, but then we had Scott Brown, Kevin Thompson, Stephen Whittaker.
Yep.
Riordan was in about it. Gary O'Connor. Gary, that one. Great lads, great. You know, could have been a big player for Hibs. Riordan, one of the best finishers. Tomo was very intelligent on the ball, but I said, are they ready to come in here? And it was a situation, and I'm looking back at Kilmarnock, I'm saying, we brought Bagan in, we brought Burke in, we brought McCutcheon in, Mark Robertson, you know, and it worked for us. So this we've got to go. But unknown at the time, Scott Brown, who was in, started to train with us, and Scott, as soon as he walked in the door, I said, get somebody different here. Scott was just full of fun, great, hyper. Would he say, don't give him any Coca-Cola, don't give him any chocolate. He's hyper enough, that's exactly right. He was great, but he was great in the dressing room when he walked in. I mean, we good players, but still, like I say, guys like Tam McManus, Grant Brebner, all these guys, you know, good players, Gary Smith, and there was a right nucleus, right good team there. We ended up bringing Big Mix in at the time. Mix was great professional, done great for us. But you're saying, right, we started to get these guys out, we're not only getting money to sell, our hands were tied a bit, you know, and they just kept, it was hurdle after hurdle, saying we're not going to get run at this because, you know, he's restricting us who we can bring and who we can play. And so anyway, Brennan came in, and it was somebody came to us and said, you know, Scott Brown's contract's up, his YTS is up. And we were like, no, he says, well, we better get him go and get him a 2-year contract. I think one of the scouts, whoever it was, says, oh, do you think Scott Brown will make it here? Do you think he's good enough? And Bobby said, he'll be in our first team within a month. I guarantee you, and he was. So he says, I think we played Brownie at right back, and we played him outside right, and we played him up front, played him everywhere, just caused eruptions wherever he went, you know, in the park. So we bring him and Kevin Thompson, Whitty, and Riordan. I says, right, decent, you know, we've got a wee bit of experience in that. It was just how these guys would handle it week in, week out. It was no bother Brownie. He just wore off a duck's back to Brownie, you know. Tomo started to establish himself in the middle of the park. Whitty could go and play right back, left back. You know, Riordan was scoring goals, so it started to work for us. But you're saying, although we were a bit short in what we needed in experienced players, because we couldn't play John O'Neill and guys like that. and brought in a few other boys, Dumby and guys like that. And we thought we were starting to get the team together. And for some reason, we had Bruni that in, but to try and take the young boys out to give them a wee break and just say, like, as much as I say, no, just keep them playing. But sometimes, you know, if things were getting a wee bit tough, we didn't want them to get a wee bit demoralised, you know, and their confidence take a hit. So Bobby was going up the stair and just saying, like, can we bring this and bring that in? Was they happen? I says, I don't think, hand in my heart, I don't think at the time we were peaches. I don't think because it was for the West. And Bobby says, I think because I played with Rangers and all. He says, they don't like Hibs, don't like. I says, that was selling the shoe here. Anyway, things just started to go a wee bit wrong. And although we struggled, we stayed up that season, and the next season we struggled. And although Bruni and that were, you know, performing, and, you know, we knew they were going to be good players, but we didn't have a chance to take them out the situation at time and put somebody else, because we didn't have that. Aye. You know, we were really short in the ground as far as, you know, experienced players had. And so anyway, it was coming near the end of the season, and we got to League Cup final against Livingston, right? And I think that was nail in the coffin for us. We get beat, but everybody fancied Hibs because we had 30,000 Hibs fans there. Yep. Livingston was so far experienced than us, much more experienced side than us. Remember it 1-0, then Bruni missed a great chance, a header, you know, but we're looking at their team and we're saying, but great, we can get a result here. And we thought the fans might carry us through and get it. We lost 2-0, David Hay was the manager. And after that, we just felt everything went flat. We went back for was supposed to be after celebration party, but we did too. And it was just so flat. And I think Bobby says, I think we're out of here. Honestly. And I says, like, what are you talking about? I says, look at the young boys with it to introduce and try to change the team. And I know the Hibs fans were demanding, that's fine. There wasn't a problem with that, but it was the obstacles that was getting put up on Bobby. We can't do this, we can't do that. So things was beginning to change. Then Bobby says, honestly, we're out of here. So one day we was going to train. I'll not be in it training today. You and Clark can take a train. I said, what's going on? He says, I'll speak to you later. I says, he's just walking or something, you know. And come on, he was away down at Plymouth for an interview, right? And after training, the boys had been asking, where's the gaffer today? He says, it's just the way he's doing some business. And it came up, this guy is new manager of Plymouth, Bobby was.
He's got quite a way leaving, yeah?
Oh, it'll be like that, Clarky. Thanks very much. I says, did that comfy? But I knew there was something going on. We knew there was something, but we didn't really know what was. He had a concrete offer, but whenever he down, and that was it. So he knew, he says, look, PT more or less said that, you know, we're not going to be here. I says, all right. So I said, me and Clarky were going to put in for the Hibs job and I'll just leave you. So when that happened, it was a bad taste in our mouth the way we left Hibs, you know, because they're a massive club, great support. And I had affiliation with them being there already, you know, and nearly signed for them again. And I always, you know, I says, well, maybe we can be successful in the coaching side of here, which you never get the chance as a player. We knew we were leaving a good squad of players. We knew Bruni was going to be a top player. Tomo, we were going to go right to the top. Whitty, Riordan should have. And Gary
Riordan and O'Connor, they should have.
Oh, Gary O'Connor, honestly, he used to go on and bully defenders and great running the ball. So a bit off the wall. Yeah. But see, talk to him. 1-to-1, great guy. It's just when he got in with the crowd, when him and Riordan left on a Saturday, left Easter Road, we didn't know if they'd been training on Monday. We used to count our numbers on a Monday. I think we've got 16 training. We might have 18 if they two turn up. We don't know where they two are, you know. But it was that sort of, that was just the way they were, you know. It was just we could deal with them in Man, but it'd bend up with their downfall. And because, you know, clubs start to say, well, are they professional enough? Are they doing this? Whereas Bruni would train every day of the week.
Absolutely.
You know, just a machine. Tomo, so level-headed. Whitty, so level-headed, you know. And then when we left, we went to Plymouth. Jimmy Clark never went to Plymouth. John Blackley was down there, and Paul Sturrock went to Southampton, but he couldn't take his other coaching staff with him. But it was great work with Sloop, you know. John I knew him for the Hibs days. Mm-hmm. But Clarkey just didn't feel he just wanted to get down, you know, just said, nah, I'm not travelling, I've had enough, you know. I think he just wanted a wee break. And he says, and it was after we left, Bobby says, I'm going to try and see if we can get, you know, look at Bruni and that, see if we can get them down here. You know, I said it'd be great signings, you know, because it's a different league, different environment. Were they ready? They said, well, they played in the top league, so I said, they'll be ready, okay. But I don't know, so the Hibs entertained them. I don't know if Bobby made the inquiry, but that's who he was talking, like Tomo and that. But what disappointed me a wee bit later on, because who came in and got the job? Mowbray took the job. Yeah. And Mowbray came in and he's, you know, and he got a lot of the credit for Bruni and that.
For that generation, really.
He got a lot of the credit, and I says, Bobby Williamson done all that. Bobby gave them a chance. Because these guys were always going to be good players. I mean, you know, your Bruni, Tomo, Whitty, they were always going to go to the top. They were always going to, because they had that desire and they had the taste early. And it was all down to Bobby. And I was more disappointed for Bobby, as if, you know, Peter just washed his hands with Bobby and just says, well, look, so we came to a club that was struggling. We stayed up. We introduced 4. Look at the money you got for Bruni, Tomo, Whitty. You know,
brought in Gary Caldwell as well.
Gary come up on loan for Newcastle. Yes. He came up on loan, and he was Gary experienced. I had Gary as a young kid at Celtic. Yeah, when I'm sorry, he was at Celtic when he was a young kid, and everybody was after him at the time. Yeah. And when he come back up, you know, he was great for us in the dressing room as well. You know, that experience, and we had a right good dressing room, and the regret there was, it'd have been great to maybe work with for another couple of seasons, because then, you know, we'd have been probably challenging for things. Yeah. We'd have had that team, we'd had a right good, exciting team. Then if offers had come out of saying, well, look, Bobby gave them these guys a chance, and look where they went now. But I know Mowbray, and I know he done a good job for them, and that's fine, no problems with that. But I just felt Bobby didn't get the credit he should have got, you know, for introducing these guys, because on one hand, maybe our hands were tied for nobody able to play your Apinons and your Pacalunas, and we had to introduce them maybe earlier than what we should have. But it'd have been nice just to see them develop over a couple of seasons.
Gave them that chance.
Yeah, and look where they are now, you know, and look what they've done in their careers. Great, you know, and it's delighted. Still keep in touch with them all, you know, and say if it wasn't for us, and big boy, Dave Kelly, you're lucky you get a chance by everybody. Lucky we had a few injuries.
Absolutely, but you do follow Bobby down to Plymouth, but that is the last time that you follow him, because then you kind of fly solo. What made Dumbarton the right role for you to be the main man?
What happened there, I came up the road, you know, I was a wee bit, I was down there on my own, right, Bobby, these misses and that down there, and as much as I was enjoying it, the travelling, your weekends, you know, we used to leave on a Friday afternoon and not go home on a Saturday, early hours on a Saturday morning for games and that, travelling the bus. Great club, great fan base, you know, I was excited when I doing to work with Bobby and that, but I just came and I says, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not, you know, and the last thing I do is, I don't want to get in there and put facing things, you know, everything's all right, I'm happy here, I'm enjoying it where I was there, you know, and I felt there was a few at the club at Plymouth who weren't on Bobby's side. Right. And I warned them, I spoke to him about it, one in particular, I said, just watch, and Bobby liked to go out and socialise with them at the weekend, and directors had that, they wanted to come up and visit them on a Sunday and maybe discuss the game and sit with their wives and have a wee barbecue. And I said, that's not me. I said, I actually joined an over 35 team. Yeah. I said, I'm playing football on a Sunday, I had something to do.
Play, exactly.
I said, if you want to get a pint later, Bobby, I'll meet you up later. Where do you go? I says, I'm not going. Sorry for you and your missing, you can sit there. I'm not listening to all this chat, you know, idle chat. So I felt, you know, things were, there were people going against Bobby behind, and one in particular, and I knew him, and I told Bobby about him, and I said, just watch your back with him. And I ended up, I was right, because I think Bobby tried to get Dave McKinnon down for commercial manager. Right. Bobby knew Davey, and Davey's smashing guy, you know, and he has his role, you know, he'd done great in a couple of clubs he's been at. So Bobby tried to get him down, and I think when he tried to get him down, the guy, one of the guys, the director, was wanting his friend in. So I don't think he was happy with, you know, that side of it. So it was, I think things were starting to, you know, there was becoming I don't mean an atmosphere, but it just, things weren't the same. And Dave never got the job. The guy got the job. His friend got the job. But Bobby, I said, Bobby, look, I come down for the pre-season. I done the pre-season. I said, look, I'm going home. I've had enough. I've things up. I'm going to just... I had in the back of my mind, I'd love to go and moan anyway. You know, maybe try it, you know, if it wasn't going to stay down here. But when we left, everybody thought me and Bobby had fell out. That was far from it, you know. I just didn't want to... I seen the way, way things were going, and Bobby was giving it his best shot. We everything and putting up with things, and I'm saying... Sometimes I just I can't hold my tongue. I say, no, I've got to say what I think, you know. And Bobby knew that, and he says to me, right, okay, if you're going to go up the road, he says, we'll get a go. And Jockey Scott came down. Jockey Scott was with him. So I said, wouldn't leave him, Bobby on his own, so to speak. And I says, I'm going to go and I've just come up the road, and when you're back up, we'll meet up and blah, blah, blah. So I walked away for a contract. I walked away for a year's contract, and 2 months later, Bobby was sacked. Don't know what was going, because he won the first couple of games. He beat QPR and somebody else. Then it just, and I said to him, was the boy behind it? The boy I was telling you about, he says, I shall listen to you. I says, well, I don't get any, you know, I feel any better. You tell me that, but I knew there was something going on. Yeah. He says, I knew myself, he says, but I just wanted to ride the storm, so to speak, and, you know.
Proven wrong almost.
Aye, just, you know, just as if I was walking away from it. And I says, but Bobby had still his contract. He was there a year. Then he just, did he come up the road? Then he went away. Then out the blue, he just sprung out. He was going to Uganda. He's
out Uganda, yeah.
He says to me, I'm going to Uganda. I says, what? He had to go through this fitness regime. I says, you're no fit now. Look at size. Look at you. And he goes, I'll get there. And he did. And he
loved them, eh?
Yeah, he loved it. He got them at the World Cup playoffs. Aye. And they won the King's Cup. What's the they won? Yes, he was kind of getting carried about in a big throne. Then he always, I still keep, every morning I get a WhatsApp from Bobby, 7 o'clock in the morning. Right. That's 11 o'clock over there. So that means he's probably in the pub. And every morning, ping. So one night, phoned me, well, he'd moved from there. I think he'd flew out with Uganda. I says, good luck, you try to get your money over there. I says, asking him for your money. So then he did the same, and he went to, what is it now? He's in
Kenya?
Yeah, Kenya. That's where he is. Well done. You would get it. Oh. So he's so he was in Kenya, done well there, club fit, but they won the league. So he was doing it there. I don't know what happened out there. He says to me, I've got a court case, I'm just getting my contract. I says, another one. So he phoned me one night. No, he texts me and he says, got a wee proposition for you. Because he'd been home. He came home a couple of years ago and he came to stay with me for, well, he says, we'll come through and get a wee night out. 3-4 days I had him. So I couldn't wait to see the back of him. So he said, I've got a wee proposition. He says, I've got a friend who works with Sky in India, and there's a job coming up. He's put me in for it. He said, I've got a great chance. You fancy it? He says, that's our swan song. I said, no more travelling now. And I says, I don't know if I can do that, Bobby. And he goes, come on. I said, Bobby, I had you for 3 days here. And I says, I couldn't handle you. I'm going to be like there every day, every week. He says, it might happen, but for some reason he says, I can maybe just enjoy my leisure now, because he was not well, you know. He took
absolutely
the cancer in the nose and that, and when I seen him, I get the fright of my life. But he's on the rails again, and he's fine. But I said, why don't you just give it a bye, you know? But again, it's easier said than done, because something drags you back, you know, and he might get a great offer over there. But right now, I think he's just enjoying his leisure. And he actually sent a video. He was on a treadmill. I said, can't it be you? It was just a treadmill I was seeing. He says, oh, that is me. I says, that's definitely not you. He took a photo of somebody in the gym and saying that's him. But he's still in good form, so it's great, and he still keeps in touch with Clarkie.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to come home. Well, he was trying to get home this year, but I don't know if he'll wait till early next year. But you know, he's still got a lot of friends here, and he's still got a lot of good friends in the press. I think if he come back here, he would maybe get the inclination to go back in and have a go at it again. But I don't think so. Over there, he's just
a managerial merry-go-round here, isn't it? And it's all the same guys vying for the same job.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I think when he had the time, you know, in Uganda, then I think he proved something. He went there, knew how good a manager he is, and when you go and do what he's done, you know, because he's over there, and he's not working with his own coaches, because I think the part of the deal was to work with local coaches over there. And I think you get the respect from all them, and which was great, you know. And I think it gave them satisfaction, I think, because it was a bit the way the Plymouth thing and maybe the Hibs thing, it left them as if, you know, he had failed, but he didn't, you know, not in my eyes anyway.
Absolutely not. And like you say, obviously that ended the partnership between you both. But when you were at Dumbarton and you were the main man, do you think you were given enough time? Your hands were perhaps kind of tied as well, that obviously there wasn't a lot of money. Promotion was what was, you know, aimed for, but it never really came to fruition. I think you got Stephen Dobby in quite early, didn't you? Got things going, but did you feel you were kind of fighting a losing battle a little bit?
I felt when I left, was it I left after when I come back? Yeah, I was out the game for a wee while when I come up from Plymouth, and when the job came up, you know, I went in. I think Craig Brown actually recommended Craig. He put a good word in for me, and I loved it. You know, I says, right, this is what I wanted to do. My biggest challenge was we're in the 3rd division. Yeah, it was trying to attract players, Amy. So with Nucleus, not a bad side, you know, we didn't have any really young boys coming through, and to go out of that league you need experience. So I got Big David Craig, I got Mark Cannon, who was at Kilmarnock, Bagan, I got Bagan, he was playing junior, I got Bagan back in. So I said, but we need somebody up front, and Dobbs, right, but I said, he'll not come with us. Nah. So I knew he was up at St Johnson, so I'd phoned him, I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm not getting my game in that. He says, how are you enjoying it, Dumbarton? I says, well, I'm alright, but I says, but I need somebody to say a goal scorer. Oh, KB, no way. I says, I know. He says, oh, I'm not going to play in that 3rd division. I says, well, you're not playing, you're sitting in the stand. I says, why don't you come down and try for a couple of months, and if you, after that, you can. He says, part-time, and I says, well, you're training with St Johnson, just come for the games. And he goes, I don't know, think about it. I says, Dobbs, look, you need to get yourself back in the show one day. Exactly. Because, you know, we had him at Hibs, and what a player at Hibs, and his biggest problem was Hibs, was he living right? Yeah. And he'd be the first one to tell you that. I says, come on down and see how you like it. So he came down, he was just too good for him, like, you know, but started popping goals away, and I'm saying, oh, the board like that, what a signing. I says, well, I've only got like Christmas. And we were up, I think we were up to 3rd or 4th, you know, but it was just, you know, just round about the box, and I knew what he could offer, you know. I said, if you get 1 or 2 players in it, just compliment him a wee bit, you know, and when you get a chance to keep him at the end of the season. But I think he scored 10 goals for us, and it came to January, and St Johnson wanted him back up. So, because I'd seen he was scoring goals, and I always knew that. I said, but look, he's left us, you know, we're not a bad position, but we're going to get another Dobbs, we're not going to get another Dobbs, so we need to sort of change our style. And that was a problem we had. We didn't have any, because we went from having, you know, expecting to win games to trying to win games, you know, and were we going to win games? And when he went back to St Johnson, then he got moved to Queen of South after that. Yeah. And this history, I mean, you know, after he was down there, he could win 2 playoff championships in Blackpool and Swansea, I think it was. Yeah. And I kept in touch with him, so I said, what do you think would have happened when he came to Dumbarton? He said, I don't know. He says, but I'm so happy I did do, you know, which was good. And I used Dobbs to boys that are not playing, young boys, and I says to them, look what happened to Dobbs, look at his career, because he came down and played football. Not at a great level, not at his level, way below his level, but he wanted to play and show the desire, and that's how he got his move. I say, so don't be sitting in the stand, don't feel that, oh, you've done, I'm not going to a club like Dumbarton where I could be sitting here at Aberdeen and that, you know. And I says, go and play, and I'll tell you what, you know, you'll see a difference in yourself, and you're back in the shop one day, clubs will come and watch you, and that's what happened to Dobbs. And as he said, he was so glad, but at the time I knew he was coming down just to do me a favour, just to do me a favour, because I was hounding him. But you know, this, as I say, that's one example I would use. But when I think if we'd have kept him to the end of the season, we could have. I think we finished 5th that year, or just outside the playoffs. Yeah, 5th we did. We remember we had about 10 games and about 30 days to play, and it was part time, and we nearly got there. But I said, well, next year we try to get better players in, but didn't happen next year. So as much as, you're right, but you say, I wish I'd got longer. Yeah, I was disappointed I never got longer. But, you know, grateful for getting the chance, and it stood me a wee bit in good stead. Whereas I've always been in as assistant, and I've enjoyed that role.
Yeah.
You know, I like that side. I like with the boys and the training ground and about the dressing room and that, you know, and I like, you know, being that part of it. Whereas I got offered the manager's job again, I would be more equipped, I'd be more, you know, I felt when I went in at first, you know, I've got a bit of, no power here, but I could get players in here because I'm just in the door.
Back,
But it never happened that way, and I just accepted what they had, whereas maybe I should have fought for more. But I'm not saying I'd get in college and say, man, if I don't get this player, I'm not coming. But I would just say, well, look, this is what we need, and this is we can afford this. But it was a great experience. You know, I'll always be grateful to Dumbarton for giving me that chance. I would never have said anything bad about them. But as I say, I wish I'd have got maybe another season at least, and then they could have maybe judged me then. But I'm not the first it's happened to, so I'll not be the last.
Certainly not be the last. And then you spoke about there being the coach and being one of the boys a little bit more, and it's not the head guy, the main man who has to call the shots. But what's the dynamic like then when you are working under one of your former players? Obviously, you've done that with Jim McIntyre at Dunfermline, so the dynamic totally switches there.
Yeah.
How do you kind of, you know, this is a guy that you've coached.
I've coached, yeah.
And then he's the boss.
Well, yeah, you'd think maybe it was awkward, but I was used to being a number two of them, and Jimmy was, I had to respect that, you know, right away. I said, right, you've been given a job, I'm in here, and my job as assistant is to assist you and try and do the best for you. And to be fair, I must admit, Mac had his own, you know, ideas, he had his own way, and back to him, he'd always ask me, you know, would you think of this and think of that? I'd give him my honest opinion, and whether it was right or wrong for him, he felt it was the right thing I was telling him, or whether, you know, he wanted to do it differently. I says, whatever you do, I'll back you, but I might not agree with it, but I'll not disagree with you in front of people. You know, I would talk to you away from it and just say, well, I think you should have done this, and I think you should have done that, but you would never discuss it in front of players. And I felt, you know, it was a hard one for Macca. We getting the job, we've been friends with, like, say, Greg Shields and Scotty Thompson and all these guys who was sitting getting ready for to go to a game 2 weeks before it, and it was a hard one, you know. But I think, you know, he had the respect as a player, but now he had to earn the respect as a manager. And I think he had to put a couple of players in the place, you know, were just treat him as if he was still a player. You know, didn't he give him that respect as a manager and make decisions, maybe say something back. And when they had, you know, two of the experienced players, Scotty Wilson and that, you know, and Mac, I go at them and just tell them this is the way it is. You know, I was teammates with you, but I'm the manager now, so you've got to respect that. Whether you like me or no, if I leave you or whatever, you've just got to go along with it. If you're not happy, then I'll just need to move you on. You know, and then I think when they realised, I think he got that respect for them, and, you know, and end up first year we done all right. The next year I think we won the league. But I think he'd put his foot down a bit with a couple of them, because he still felt maybe they felt they were more much experienced to Mac, and maybe he got the job, and maybe they would have liked the job. But I don't think there was a problem until something came up that, you know, they weren't happy with, you know, and if you've got that with 2 or 3 experienced players and they're not happy one and the other together, you know, it can be a problem. But I think, you know, the way he laid it down, he says, I'll be honest with you, and that's one thing I'll do. Whether it's, you know, what you want to hear or it's you don't want to hear, that's the way it's going to be. And I don't think we really had a problem after that. You know, I think players came. He signed 2 of the most experienced players in Kevin Rukovic and Martin Hardy. And I think that's what won us the league, Amy, because they came in and they looked at other players around about them, and they seen the respect they were getting, Jimmy Mack and myself and that, you know, and Stephen Wright were there. So I think they says, well, these guys are, you know, big players for this club, and look at the respect they're getting, and we got that response. And it was, as I says, I think that was Macca's. It was a great, you know, piece of business signing they two, because they end up winning as a league because not just the players they were, what they brought to the dressing room as well, along with Scotty Thompson, Nipper and that. They were good pros, Greg and that, but I think they needed this wee bit of more experience and guys that weren't frightened to say anything and have a go at other players, you know. And I think that's what, you know, we could say wins the league that year.
Absolutely. And league was won, promotion secured. Obviously, Dunfermline were in a little bit of trouble off the park.
Yeah.
Do you think they made a massive mistake in sacking Jim McIntyre though?
Massive. I remember Jimmy phoning me, would finish training. I was back in Hamilton, and Jimmy phoned me, he says, I'm going back to Dunfermline. I said, what's going on with you? What are you doing? He said, I'm getting a sack. I said, oh, shut up, don't be silly. How can you get a sack? And he says, I'm getting a sack. John Yorkson's phoned me to come through. I says, seriously? I says, we've not had any money to spend. You know, we've still got the same group of players, and we're trying to get the best of what we've got. How can they sack you if they're not going to back you with money to bring in other players? He said, I'm serious, I think I'm getting sacked. So he had a way through, and I said, well, keep me in the picture, phone me. That was it, I get sacked, and I says, that's kind of right. So anyway, I went back in, I went out to train the next day. Jim Leishman and that came down with the order. I says, what's going on here, Jimmy? How can this happen? How can they sack Macca? He says, Jerry, nothing to do with me. He says, it was even on the agenda. I think they did a meeting that day, that night before they phoned Macca back, take him back up at night. They had a meeting, he says it wasn't even on the agenda. And John Yorkson just mentioned, he said, what about changing the manager? He says, and it just went for there. He says, Jimmy was even, you know, in discussion, nobody's thoughts. I said, well, how did it harm then? How did they let it harm? I says, it's a wrong decision, it's so wrong. I says, what are they going to do? Well, I don't know. A week later, Jim Jeffries is in.
Yep.
And as much as I like Jim, I got on well with Jim, but I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I says, Jimmy Mack brought me in, I'm going. I says, I can't be here. But Mack phoned, he said, whatever you do, don't walk out. And he says, because I'm going to get my wage, I'm going to get paid up, I'm going to pay my contract. If you walk out, you'll not pay your contract. I says, well, I know that. I says, but I'm in a situation here I shouldn't be in because they shouldn't have sacked you. He says, just hang in and see what happens. So Jim Jeffries came in, and I says, well, Jim will bring his own money anyway, so I'll go. And Billy Brown came in, trained for a week with the boys, and then Billy says, oh, there's nothing for me here. So I says to Jim, I says, what's happening, Jim? I says, I can understand if you want to bring in your own man. I says, fine, just pay my contract up, and I'll be happy to go. I should be going with Jimmy anyway, Jimmy Mack. He said, I don't want you to go, I want you to stay. So that put me in a wee bit of position. I says, right. So then I couldn't walk out because I've been offered to stay. So I said, right, that's fine. I says, well, why don't I just stay here at the end of the season and then we'll see how things work. He says, look, I'm happy with you, I'm blah, blah, blah. So I took the train, I was working away with Jimmy, then he brought Neil McCann, just as, he said, I'm just trying to say Neil, learn nearly the ropes. But then that became a problem, right, because the boys weren't getting paid, financial, it was just, we didn't know what was going behind the scenes, but when boys' wages started not getting into the bank and they're getting paid in dribs and drabs, and everybody, can we take this, can we sort this, we'll sort it out next month, and this is a problem, a big problem here. I think it was Gavin Masterton was in charge of the club at the time, and he would come down and meet with the boys, and the boys were up my arms, the boys didn't want to train, the boys wanted to go into training. There was just says, no, I had a chat with the boys and said, look, the worst, I know you're coming for it, we're caught in the middle of this, but you've got to train and you've got to play for your own sake, because you get there, let people see how professional you are, and other clubs will be watching you because they know the situation. We'll need to sell players, so players will need to go. So don't go to that other side. And much it was hard for them because they've got families, and it was becoming very difficult for, you know, boys coming in every day to get motivated to train and play and knowing they weren't going to get paid. Then we'll realise how things were really getting bad. And when it came to a head, you know, what was happening, it was probably the worst day in football I had. I get pulled in as well, and because I'm on a contract, and Martin Hardy, you know, David Graham, all these guys, Kevin, they were all getting pulled in, saying, right, you guys get in that room, you guys get in this room, you guys are staying, you guys will need to go. I didn't know what was happening myself, and I just said, look, just give me, I'll go, just whatever it was. I said, because it was becoming a circus, you know, and as I said, I should have already left, but I couldn't leave. I said, so I'm taking this chance now, and I couldn't have stayed anyway, you know what was happening to the players. But it was so bad, it was so difficult watching these players get in and saying, that's it. Whatever they got, 5 weeks or a couple of months' wages and contracts torn up. Otherwise, that they could afford to stay and keep, and guys, won a lot. And Neil McCann was still there, which I felt at the time he shouldn't have been there. You know, he should have come out, just get away out the road till things settled down. But Jim Jeffries agreed to work for whatever, came to a deal. And at the time I offered to do the same, but it didn't happen. And I felt the way things were getting done. I says, I'm better out of here. And as much as I loved the club, it was a great club, big club, to see what was happening, to these players for a couple of years ago, since seasons before that we'd won the league and playing in the Premier League and playing with the squad of players we had and trying to get introduce what we had, you know, and Jimmy was up against it, but to sack Jimmy, I thought it was one of the worst decisions they'd made, because it didn't get any better. Not against Jim Jeffries, but nobody was going to make it better. Alex Ferguson couldn't have come in and done any better. It was just a situation we were in, and I felt that Jimmy certainly got a raw deal, and then when the club ended up where it was, you know. How it got to that stage, I don't know, Amy, but obviously we're not on that side of it. We're not working, you know, I always say business guys should run the club side, let us run the football side of it, you know, and you try to keep players away from it. But the hardest thing was watching boys coming out to train every day, and we coming out, I'm sitting down here, get things all geared up and training all set up, and you're looking round about as the boys coming out, but we couldn't go up and say, get out of training, you know, it was their decision, and no way we was going to get involved in that, you know, that was just the way they felt. But it was hard when you see that, and for administrators to come in, these administrators always come in at it's a 70-30, 80-20 to save the club against, you know, we're going to be struggling. They're always going to save it, because they're always going to get there, and the money they take out of clubs is frightening. You know, the money that came out of Dunfermline, these guys had to get paid before they step in the door. It was just, they're not caring about us. They're no, okay, it's their job, and they have to be ruthless in that, but they're going to make sure they get paid. And it's just to watch the same players had tried everything, did everything for the club just to get thrown in scrap heap. It was sad, you know. When I say it was bad, I didn't want to lose my job. I enjoyed the club, but then again, I'd have probably maybe left if Jim Jeffries would have let me go at the time. But it was for the players and young families and things like that, you know, to watch them. Okay, they might get another club, but it might not be as big a club as what it had Dunfermline. They probably had to take what they had to get at the time. And it was to see a club get through it, you know, I wouldn't wish it on MD, you know, and I know it's happened to a few clubs. It's happened to Dunfermline before as well, hasn't it? But it should never ever happen. You know, guys that come in to run the club should run it the right way. And that's how I think you look at a lot of these clubs that run just now, you know, there's no way they're going to break the bank for MD. And this probably accumulated from years before we got there. Yeah. You know, because there were a lot of big players and big money. And it was the same at Hibs, you know, they were in there. Yeah, they had to do something. But we were the ones that take in and try and clear up the mess and start again. You know, as I says, fortunately we had the young boys coming through at Hibs, and that's what maybe kept them alive, you know, and kept them, you know, kept the belief in the club that, you know, that they were still in good hands, you know.
Absolutely, and it's Dunfermline, they're still kind of not reaping perhaps from the financial point of view, but they've never hit the heights of the Scottish Premiership again. And they'll struggle to attract the players of the calibre that you and Jim McIntyre really did have at that time. So after Dunfermline, you know, there's Queen of the South, there's Dundee, there's Brechin City as well. How many clubs over Scotland have you actually played a part in? Do you know?
How many clubs have I played?
I don't know this.
As a player or as a coach?
Over both. How many clubs in Scotland have you played a role in? Because I think we've spoke about at least 15.
You could be right. Right. Are you talking about ones if it double spells it? No.
Nah, 'cause that's one club.
That's one club. Okay. Right. Right. Okay.
Can't count Hamilton
Right.
as four.
Right. 1, 2. That's true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness. Got me there, Amy. Right. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to start right. Clyde Bank. Hamilton Accies.
This is going to be a record.
Clyde Bank. Hamilton Accies. Dumbarton or Broth. That's 5, isn't it?
Yep.
Right. Queenie South, Dunfermline, 7. Dundee 8.
Brecon, 9.
Brecon 9.
Kilmarnock, 10.
Kilmarnock 10.
Hibs, 11. Are we involved in Celtic coaching?
Yes. Hibs the youth.
Yeah, 12.
12, yeah. 12. Did I get as much as that? My goodness.
I've not missed a job. Queen of the South, Dundee, Brecon, after Dunfermline, yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the end in between that.
I think it's a record.
12.
I think you're certainly a record for Soccer SUPERNOVA, put that way.
Am I?
Aye. Right, so how many more have you got in the pipeline?
Not at the moment.
Would you get back into it?
Yes, oh yeah. Yeah, I would get back. I know I said after Brecon it was mentally, physically feel good going to training ground. I've still keep myself reasonably fit. It's not the mental side of it, it's the physical side of it is the mental side last year. Just maybe because we couldn't get them out of the bit, we thought we were in touching distance of escaping, and it didn't happen. And I think that demoralised me a wee bit. Whether we'd have stayed up, whether they stayed on at Brecon, I don't know. I couldn't really answer, but at the time, when I did go in with Michael Payton, I says, well, I'll give it to the end of the season, see how I feel. But don't get me wrong, I was enjoying the training, you enjoy the first part of the game till you lose, then it's travelling back down from Brecon, travelling back, and it's going through your head, the next day it's going through your head, then you're back in at training, and you're trying to get them up again, and it's all part and parcel of the game, that's how we're in it, but that was the most demoralising. If some came and I thought it was something worthwhile, that I could do something with the club or get involved, a club that was quite ambitious and wanted to go and win some, no a club that's just want to maybe I'll be happy just sitting around about the middle of the league. No, I don't think I would be, because as I said to the boys at Brecon, we don't really want to be here coaching and training. I don't want to just be here playing in this league. You've got to set your ambitions, it's how much you want it. And I think it would be wrong just to again say, okay, right, escaping relegation, we're middle of the table, okay. No, if it was a club that was a wee bit ambitious and wanted to get to the next league, level, next league, yeah, then I'd certainly get back. I'm sure I would.
Well, I called you a Clyde Bank legend at the start, but with 12 clubs with an affiliation to it, I think that makes you a Scottish football legend. But Gerry McCabe, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Amy. I'm very much was looking forward to it once Paul John get back to me eventually. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you. Thanks for. I'll tell you what, you knew more about my career than that, didn't you?